We are hanging out, waiting for Tia Toomey.
Waiting for Tia.
It's Monday. How was your weekend?
It was good. Oh my gosh. So I went
guess we're
out to
still in the
dinner.
weekend.
Yeah, for us, it's Monday for Tia. That's
Yeah.
why we're recording tonight. I went out to dinner twice this weekend, and both meals, oh my god.
Really?
Yes, on Friday night I went out to dinner with my dad, and it was
Oh, cool.
this place that just aesthetically is really pretty. They have a really nice outdoor bar that has like a massive fireplace, and this time of year it's great. But I got their filet, and let me tell you,
Damn.
it was so good. They had this butter glaze that was on top, and it just, oh my god, it was so good. Now my mouth is watering. And then I got scallops on Saturday. So I've been
Scallops.
eating well this
Good.
weekend.
Yeah, I did that thing in Atlanta for Barbells for
Oh
Billies.
yeah,
It
how
was
was
a
that?
blast. It was so fun. I mean, it was like I flew out at 9:30 p.m. on Friday night. Got to
Wait.
Atlanta at like 5, drove right from the air. They flew me first class, which was I couldn't believe. Like I didn't even know it. Like I checked in and I looked at my seat assignment. I went, "Am I in first?"
You're like, what is this?
Holy, like I everybody that and this, of course, no one's flying me first class,
Yeah.
but they did, and I got like an hour 20 minutes of sleep, so I had enough to function.
What are the seats like in first class?
They're big. Like they have like you don't have to go through that war for the armrest, and they're nice and padded, and you have enough room to recline to where you're really infringing on the person behind you space. So that was nice. Yeah, so I got about like 90 minutes of sleep, so that was good. And then the event itself was a smaller one, but it was fun, man. They do a lot of great work for people, helping to raise money for local rescues. And it was really cool because there was a guy that I saw, and it was Saturday, so college football is big down there, and he was wearing all Florida State gear. I'm like, oh, cool, Seminole fan. And yeah, I was on the mic doing the floor announcing, which, by the way, has given me a huge appreciation now for what floor announcers do.
You were emceeing the event?
Yeah, I was like calling the event
from
the
before?
ground. No. So I just kind of did what I would have done in the booth and tried to just talk with the fans every now and then. And so we had a break, and this guy in the Florida State gear comes up to me, and I was like, hey, Florida State. I started giving him the sort of the tomahawk chop. And then he's a buddy of mine that I worked with in Tallahassee and Jacksonville that I hadn't seen.
No way.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, 13 years. It was unbelievable. Gave him a huge hug. He lives outside of Atlanta. He does CrossFit, heard about the competition, decided to come by. Like it was great to see him. He has a beautiful 5-year-old daughter, met his wife. Like it was really neat. So that's like the second time in my life that I've been reunited with someone I hadn't seen in a while through CrossFit. So
that's
it was fun.
Crazy, especially when you first meet somebody and neither of you were doing CrossFit, and then in your adulthood down the line, you reconnect through CrossFit. Something similar happened to me with this girl I went to high school with, and we used to be like big partiers, not fitnessing. But now we've been reunited through CrossFit. It's just so funny, like how both of our lifestyles have changed so much, and we now have something different in common.
Yeah. Barbells for Bullies is a great organization. They raised, they got 2 dogs adopted, I think, that day, and they raised some money for some local rescues. It was fun. And it's, it's the same thing I've said, that you get out amongst the community and you realize how different it is in person than it is online.
100%.
And it was just a great experience. So,
well, and just a couple of things that I saw you like reshare on social media, it seemed like sometimes when we're sitting at home or you're in the office, all you see is some of the things on Instagram and comments and stuff, but then going out with the people and then they come up to you and it just makes you remember why we're doing this and that you're appreciated.
And they don't, they don't pay any attention to a lot of stuff. So that's cool. Like you realize. So we got confirmation from Tia, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure. She just must be running just a couple minutes late. But anyway,
I
lost my best pair of reading glasses too on the plane, which that sucked. But
no.
Yeah, my good Oakleys, man. I went to. They actually have lost and found. Airlines do. So
They do?
Yeah, they do. They have lost and found. I was like, I'm going to take a shot in the dark when I went back to the Atlanta airport, and I went to the lost and found place. They didn't have mine, but they said we get stuff in all the time. If you file a report online, they'll know what to look for. And I was like, all right, well, shot in the dark, maybe it'll work. So
I have left my Beat headphones on an airplane before. Yeah.
I've never done that, but
No, I put him in the front little pocket like an idiot.
Yep. I know, like, I put mine in this, there's like a little side pocket I have in my backpack, but I always I keep my backpack sometimes on the floor and in the aisle so I can use it as like a footrest sometimes to like elevate my feet.
Oh yeah.
So I think in my, squirming around trying to get comfortable, I probably just like kicked him out of the pocket and I just didn't even think to look when I got off the plane. So my fault. My fault. Where is
emailing? Yeah, I'm emailing her right now just to confirm, but she confirmed with me.
Up.
Oh,
here we go.
Is.
Here she is. What's up?
Hey guys, how are you?
We're great. How are you?
Well,
it's not like you're training for a competition or have a kid or anything. So
your life isn't busy.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good to see you guys too. How are you guys?
We're doing great.
Yeah. No complaints here.
Good.
Yeah.
It looks like a beautiful day there.
Yeah, it is actually a beautiful day. It's a little bit cloudy at the moment, but yeah, the sun is shining. Just got to get rid of this rain cloud. It's been raining the last couple of days, but it's actually really nice.
Yeah, it's
a nice break.
It's because you're going into spring right now, right?
We are. Yep.
Yeah,
because it's normally fall in
yes.
America. Mm-hmm. So like complete opposite.
Yeah.
Reverse.
So I was on Friday, I got to hang out with a buddy of mine who's from Australia, lives in Brisbane, knew him when I lived in Jacksonville.
Oh, cool.
And I learned what avo means. I learned what servo means. So I've got some more Australian slang now. Someone gets crooked, you call an ambo.
Ambo. Yeah, you got to call the ambo. Yep.
So anyway, that was good.
It is actually, that's hilarious because it's things that we just don't even know or think about, and it just rolls off the tongue. And it was like 12 months into living in America where I started realizing people don't have any idea what I'm saying.
And that's exactly what he said. He goes, because he'd spent so much time in the United States, and his wife is from the United States, and she moved over to Brisbane with him. And he's like, she just couldn't. I didn't realize until I saw through her eyes like how much slang we have, and no one knows what they're talking about. So, well, we'll get started here. So, I'll just 3, 2, 1 and go. 3, 2, 1. Let's bring in our guest. She needs no introduction, but I'm going to do it because it's the polite thing to do. She's the 6th-time fittest woman on earth, and we're going to get to see her compete at the Rogue Invitational this year. Super excited for that. She is Tia Toomey. Tia, how you doing?
Hello. How are you guys?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. A lot we want to talk about, but first off, when did you know, all right, I'm ready and I'm competing? When did you know you were ready to get back on the competition floor? And not just compete, but compete at the level that I know that is acceptable to you.
It's one of those things where I thought and I said to Shane, look, I will know in September whether or not I can compete or not. But it's one of those things, even prior to that point, I said verbally to Shane that, I would like to compete this year, and not just for myself, but, just for Shane, for Willow, I would like to be able to, tell her stories about when she was first born and, what we would do like when she was only months old. And when I started thinking about that, that's when I started realizing, regardless of, whether I'm ready or not, obviously I am very well aware that I need to make sure like my health was above all, making sure that I was able to provide what I needed to for Willow. And so, when I realized that all of that was going really well, I was recovering really well, Willow was very happy, I thought, why not start this incredible journey that the three of us can just cherish for years to come?
Let's go back to when you first gave birth to Willow. What was your expectations of entering motherhood versus the reality of having this beautiful baby into your life? And what was it like for Shane too? Because I know he was excited for the whole journey.
Oh man, whoa, why don't we just dive straight into it? And I start crying. But honestly, guys, having Willow, there was no expectation. All I thought was, oh, like wait until, Willow and Daddy do this, or, it was more about witnessing what Willow and Shane were going to do together. That was just so exciting. And I think that when you say expectation, I just, everyone talks about how amazing it is. So I just thought, I just hope that she's healthy, and I hope that I can provide everything that I need to in order to make her a happy baby, but also for Shane to be a happy father, and, so that Shane as a husband and wife, it's all just like a very streamlined ecosystem. And then once she just came into our lives, everyone always says it's like a love that you've never experienced before. And prior to that, I thought I comprehended it. And I thought, well, of course I'm going to love my child. I love my sisters just like so much. But we had Willow, and all I cared about was just witnessing Shane hold a baby for the very first time. And I'm literally in the delivery room barking orders at everyone to get photos and videos of Shane holding Willow. And I'm like, no, hold it at this angle, at this side, hold it this way. And I'm just like, focusing on that. And Shane's trying to be near me, and I'm like, no, go over to Willow, make sure Willow's okay, and all of this type of thing. And then it wasn't until, we got back to the room, and, we were just the three of us. And then all of a sudden, like, as moments went by, it just like punches you in the face of like, oh my goodness, I love this thing so much. And like, I love it so much that it hurts, like that I want to cry. And it's just so crazy because I just did not comprehend that. And it was like a gradual thing. And each day I just look at her and I think, oh my God, I'm falling more and more in love with you each and every day.
Did the name Willow come from somewhere, or how did you and Shane ultimately name your child that?
Well, it was one of those things. We had a completely different name set, and we did want to wait until we seen her in person and then make a decision. And it was funny because it took us a few days to actually, decide, yep, no, Willow's the choice that we're going to make. But for months and almost through the whole pregnancy, we knew that we were going to call her a completely other name. And it's just so funny because Willow, so like there's a willow tree, and there's not really much of a story where it comes from, but there was a willow tree that was originated or planted where I grew up. And, it's always just such a beautiful tree, I've always thought. And then, as I was going through names and everything like that, I just thought that Willow was, such a beautiful name, and how cute and adorable it would be for a little baby girl. And Shane it took him a little bit to I guess come to, because he was so set on this other one. And then all of a sudden, he was actually watching a Lakers game while I was in labor. Well, we both were, I suppose. And he's like, if the Lakers win, Willow can be in the contention. And they won. And then, the rest is history.
Yeah.
So it wasn't very much of a great story.
No, that's amazing.
Fatherhood tends to soften people up. Like there were some things like, we're never doing that. I'm like, yeah, we're absolutely doing that. We're like, why would I say no to that? You mentioned, the unconditional love and how that affects you, but how then have you seen a difference in yourself, like when you just go and do your job, which is working out in the gym, or how you focus, or how you think about it? Like, what's that been like for you?
I think it is different, and it's one of those things where I've always known competing is not the be all or end all. but I've devoted my whole life and career to it. And it's something that both Shane and I have devoted a lot of time and energy into. And, you know, there's some good days, but there's also a lot of bad days. And when you're not having the best day and you look over and you see your daughter like just sitting there watching you, you're like, wow, you know, today's still a pretty good day. And I think when you have something or someone to, you know, it's not that I didn't live for anything prior to having Willow, but having Willow, and, you know, it's something that Shane and I both, you know, created, and it's both ours. It's just, she's a symbol of why we do what we do. And, you know, she just makes life so much better. Mm-hmm. And I think that when you have that, and, you know, you're going about your day and you're trying to be the best version of yourself and you're trying to get that 1% better each and every day, it just makes it that much more motivating, that much more fulfilling. And yeah, it's so wild. Like it's something that you can't really comprehend until you actually experience it yourself, because everyone goes through different experiences. But I just know that every single day I haven't changed in terms of, you know, the relentlessness and, you know, the drive that I've trained myself to have throughout the years that I've been competing. And I'm still, you know, unsatisfied with just hitting the number that I hit that day, right? I'm always wanting more and everything. But I also can see a bigger picture as well. And it's easier to see the bigger picture, I think, now that I have something that's way more important in my life.
So then how do you get back to that type of training, getting ready for Rogue, having all of this unfinished business of wanting to continue to be the fittest on earth, when being an athlete, you have to be selfish in so many aspects of life. But I'm sure now with Willow, there's maybe a couple less hours of sleep you've been getting each night. So how do you have this beautiful daughter and this beautiful family with also trying to reach these incredible goals?
Yeah, I think it's about understanding your priorities. And it's one of those things where I've had 12 months off, you know, and having those 12 months, growing Willow in my belly, all of that whole journey has just been so rewarding and so incredible. I enjoyed every minute of it. And I'm very fortunate to have had such a beautiful experience. But it's now trying to tap back into what it was like prior to being pregnant, and, you know, what I've been trying to teach myself and learn and grow as an athlete and as a competitor to find that champion edge. But also looking and realizing that, you know, whatever it is that you set your mind to can be very much achievable. And each day, there's always going to be challenges. You know, this is probably one of my most challenging moments that I'm going to face throughout life as I grow as an athlete, but also as an individual. And you know, getting back out on that competition floor, you have to ask yourself, you know, what is it that you want to achieve? And I'm constantly reminded that the goal hasn't changed. I'm wanting to be the best athlete that I possibly can be. But now I also feel like I can have that incredible drive and encouragement, if you will, whether she speaks or not, from my daughter. And it's a very powerful thing, because yes, it's hard to get back in the gym after, you know, having a baby and knowing where I was to where I had to start. You know, I had to start at zero again. And, you know, it's just like anyone going through an injury, or, you know, having to basically peel back the layers and start from scratch. But I feel like I can be so much better than what I was because I have so much more to live for now.
Mm.
So you mentioned starting from zero, and for someone like you who's used to competing and being able to perform at a very high level, mentally, how do you deal with that and not get impatient to where, you get to the point where you're just not trusting the process, or you're getting frustrated with where you
Sean,
are in
when
your
I
training?
figure that out, I'll let you know. No. Yeah.
Please do.
I mean, I think there's no secret that I'm a very impatient person. And, when I say I want to do something, I want to do it yesterday. And I want it to happen yesterday or 2 weeks ago. But I think it's you have to think or remind yourself, what is the bigger picture? Where was I, 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, 6 months ago? And you have to remind yourself constantly that each day that progresses forward, if you put your best foot forward and you can put your head on the pillow at night and ask yourself, did I give it my absolute best? And the answer is yes, then you can ask really no more. And, that is one of the only ways to get through the tough times of being impatient and wanting to be at your all-time best when time isn't necessarily on your side. And the thing is people always think that they're running out of time, but no, we have heaps of time. We just need to be patient and take one step at a time, not look too far in advance and get overwhelmed by the experience. I'd like to think though that the challenge or what I enjoy is seeing how good I can be, not to rush the process, but how quickly I can bounce back, because I know what's possible. And, I think that for me, it's really important that I keep challenging myself and putting no expectations or limitations on myself, because I'm wanting to achieve further than that. And that's just been something that I've just had to constantly remind myself that, each day that we're progressing forward is a huge win in itself. And, yes, time is on my side, but don't let that be a limiter, and try and just keep pushing as far as what I possibly can. And, who knows what's possible. But I think it's really important that I am very conscious of staying healthy. And I keep saying this because, a lot of people will comment or, say, oh, aren't you pushing it too early and all that type of stuff. But I know my body and I know what I'm capable of doing. And I think that, yes, I'm aware that you can obviously overdo it, but I'm nowhere near that because I know what I'm capable of doing. And, I haven't even tapped into that. So for me, it's about, pushing myself. It's really interesting. For the first time in my life, I think it's more of my mental capacity is far exceeded my physical capacity. And it's just wild because it used to be the other way around. Because your body can just go for days and days and days, but it's your mental capacity that's the one that's slowing you down or stopping you. And it's just wild to watch and experience the body take a journey from, negative, if you will, to a positive.
Were there any complications when coming back to the gym and coming back to fitness after the birth of Willow? I mean, you speak to some women who have had children and it takes them a long time sometimes to do anything with the midline, like GHDs, toes to bar. Did you experience anything like that? Or what was the transition for your own body getting back into the gym?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there were major complications. From the ones that I've heard stories about, there are some pretty serious stories out there. But for us, I think it was just we took our time getting back into it, and so like you get like a 6-week clearance or whatever, but I started moving the body. And when I say moving the body, I was just walking. But I started moving the body and everything when I felt like I could. And then, you know, I didn't rush doing any lifts too early on in my journey getting back. I also didn't, like, I think GHDs were the last movement, or toes to bar were the last movement that I had to do before, you know, feeling like, oh, I've literally done every movement now and I feel really good. That it's just about time and really taking your time getting back into everything. And I think even when I think about it, for the first couple of months, it was just simply, you know, getting the blood flow again, flowing through the body, and slowly, like no intensity, no lifting, nothing like that, but slowly building a foundation that my body could actually, you know, feel like it was recovering, feel like it was moving, and feel like it was relearning the movements that I've been doing for so many years prior.
I think back to the CrossFit Games, and there was a time where you joined us up in the booth for one of the events, and I think it was the Muscle Up log one. And I remember just there was a palpable energy coming off you, like you wanted to get out of that seat and run down onto the competition floor and compete. Like I could feel that emanating from you. And how did like having to watch competition affect you as a competitor?
As a competitor, it was tough because there were so many great tests that the athletes were doing that I just was like, man, I'm just itching at the bit to be out there because I know I could do them. But it was also a really incredible experience just watching other people go out there and achieve their dreams. And I don't know if that's like the mother that's coming out in me now, that I'm starting to realize that it's actually so rewarding to see other people. And like I might even be watching a TV show or a movie that's not even real life, and I start getting choked up because I'm just so proud of, you know, someone accomplishing their own goals and dreams. And it also could come from the time that I've been in the sport, and you know, it's not like I'm my young self, you know, back in 2017, and you know, I'm just so eager and selfish that I just want to achieve my goals. But yeah, it was a little difficult because I think no matter how old I get, I'm always going to be, you know, a competitor at heart and a very competitive person, and think, oh man, I could do that. I don't think that will ever leave. But it was also really special just to be able to sit on the sidelines and just see other incredible athletes showcase their true capabilities.
Was there ever a thought to have a conversation with Boz or Dave or anybody else from the sports team to potentially let you compete at the CrossFit Games this past year?
I mean, I did ask Shane, I was like, what if that opportunity came? Shane shut that down as fast as he could. Yeah, you know, if I did have it my way, I'd probably, as much as I try and say, yeah, like stay healthy, everyone, you know, be really smart about your comeback, and you know, do the time that you need. Oh man, I'm so impatient. I just like to give it all straight away. But I also was just so in awe of having Willow on me at all times, and like that was just, it was just so special to be able to be at the CrossFit Games with my baby girl. And you know, that alone was, it was like, I think back to this year's CrossFit Games more than any other CrossFit Games, and just think, oh my gosh, that was so fun, you know? And so it's just so different. But yeah, I think I'm just, you know, I've got this freaking love bubble around my mind right now that it's the only thing that I think about.
Well, and even some of the best moments at whether it's the CrossFit Games, Rogue, or any of the off-season competitions are when you see Annie with her daughter or Cara with her daughter, and those moments and the video and the pictures, they just pull at your heartstrings. When you finally have that moment, is it just going to be full Waterworks with you and Shane?
Oh man, I mean, yeah, probably, but it's like, you know, Rogue Invitational for us, like we're going to work, and you know, as far as I'm concerned, I have a job to do when I get to Austin, Texas, and my parents are coming over to look after Willow, so I'll be able to see Willow, you know, at night times and in the mornings, of course, but you know, I just, it's one of those things where I'm not sure. I really have no idea, because I've never experienced it before, and this is going to be such such a different experience, because when I'm at a competition, I just dial in and I don't really talk to anyone. So, you know, it's going to be one of those things where I'm intrigued to see how I feel having or you know, wondering where Willow is, but also trying to stay as dialed in as what we normally do. So I'll keep you posted on that, but I just know that she's going to be in really good hands when I'm out on the competition floor.
You mentioned that you're going to work. Now, is that synonymous with also going to win? Because I don't know if it's fair for people, because the expectation will be you show up, you win, because that's what we're used to seeing. I don't know if that's your expectation. And I hate the question of, you know, what are your goals in this competition? Well, it's because everyone wants to win. But I think in this instance, it's probably appropriate. Like, what are the expectations / goals for Austin, Texas?
Well, you know, I don't think that my goal has changed compared to any other competition that I go into. And I'm training to win just like everyone else. But also, you know, I have a high level of respect for competition and my competitors, and you know, it's not going to be easy. And you know, where I am in my training cycle and where I am physically, I'm really happy with, and I'm really happy with how everything's progressing forward. And you know, when it comes to Rogue, I'm going to definitely be putting my best foot forward, and you know, that hasn't changed, you know, from any other competition that I've ever gone in. And it's just one of those things where, yeah, everyone always says, oh, you know, she's unbeatable, all that type of jargon and everything like that. And, you know, I feel very honored, or I appreciate the compliments and everything. But, you know, I have serious competition, and I've always had some serious competition. And so, you know, there is no doubt that it's going to be a bloodbath, and, you know, we're going to be going for it all weekend. So I'm just really excited to be going back out and standing on that start line with every other competitor. And, you know, I'm just so fired up to be back out on that competition floor.
When it comes to some of those headlines, whether it's an article, a podcast, the content that people like Sean and I also put out too, how much do you consume as a competitor for your own knowledge versus how much do you just tune out so that you can focus on your goal at hand, which is to win?
More often than not, I don't really see it. Just because I honestly am so busy. I actually haven't been on social media for so long, just because when I'm not training, I'm trying to, you know, help Willow out, or, you know, do stuff with Willow, spend more time with her. And before I know it, like, I've got no more energy to do anything else.
You have 2 full-time jobs now.
That's literally the reality that I'm facing, is like just training and then being with Willow and Shane. And it's wild, because we've been over in Australia and there's family and friends that we haven't even seen. And they're like, oh, when would you like to catch up and all that? And we're like, we don't have time to do that. Like, we're literally busy right now. And they don't understand, because it's like, well, what do you do all day? You know? but this is just what we've, signed up to do. And don't get me wrong, like seeing headlines and stuff, it can definitely create motivation and, just absolute hunger, because you're like, oh, I can't wait to prove you wrong. But also, I think that every media outlet has to create hype, and, they want those click views and everything like that. And it's just the name of the game, really. But yeah, you got to use it for fuel, and then in some of them you just ignore it and think, yeah, whatever, man.
I love it.
When, with 6 titles of fittest on earth, you've accomplished more than any individual competitor. You're coming back, and obviously still driven to compete. When is going to be the time where you look at what you've accomplished and you say, what, I'm good with walking away now? Or is that, I'm interested to, because some moron on TV said you were retiring and he ended up being wrong. So I'm just curious, like, when that's going to happen.
Never forget.
It's one of those things, and man, Sean, when I do retire, I do hope that you're the one that calls it, because you have.
Oh man, you 100%.
You have definitely been a part of my competition, or my competitive competition for since the beginning. Remember our first interview? Oh my goodness.
I will never forget. I tell people this all the time, like, just this like, it is, you are I've never seen a change in a person like I have seen with you over the past 8 years. You're not even the same person like that. It's like the difference between a 2-year-old and a 16-year-old. That 2-year-old doesn't even exist anymore.
Oh man, I was so nervous. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's every year. Every year I'm always faced like, is this going to be my last year? And you know what? 3 weeks, 4 weeks out from competition, I'm always like, yep, this is it. I'm done. I'm not doing any more. And, I'm retired. But then, competition happens, and the hype and the adrenaline, and then you're reminded of why you work so damn hard. Then once you've had some time off, you're like, nah, I'm back at it. And so I don't blame you for like always wondering, like, oh, when is the time that you're going to be done? But I don't think I'll ever know, really, because each year provides a different why. Each year provides a different reason for why you're going out and doing it. I never thought that I would want to compete after having a child, but throughout my pregnancy, there was just something that made me think, why not? While Willow, at the moment, she just sleeps, eats, and sleeps some more, and so I was like, what else am I going to do? And why not be able to train while she's doing that, and tell her when she's growing up, hey, when you were a little baby, I used to compete out on that competition floor. Now that may change next year or the year after or the year after that, but right now it just makes sense for me to be competing. And so I'm not sure exactly when I'll ever know when the right time is to hang up the boots. Because who knows, I may have time off and then want to do team or want to do masters. I think that's the beauty of this sport. You can keep doing this sport for it's a lifestyle sport, and you can keep competing, for years to come at different ages. So the opportunities are endless. But I definitely think that priorities, they definitely change throughout the years. And right now I'm trying to prioritize training to be a champion, but also being the best mom that I possibly can be. And that has been just such an eye opener. And things that I didn't even really comprehend, like you're breastfeeding and you're working out and your boobs hurt. I didn't even think of that. That is just like, it is like mind blowing. And I'm doing, D-ball cleans, and I'm like, Shane, my boobs hurt. The movement doesn't hurt, or the workout doesn't hurt, but I'm physically, Sorry, Sean?
No, I laugh because I know it's like I can't relate to that. And I'm sure Shane just goes, then don't do that. I know we're kind of useless, but
he didn't even think of it, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Well, I realized that past years you probably didn't even think about this, but just so you know."
Yep. Here, you let this thing attach to your chest for 20 minutes, and you see how you feel. Kind of how it is. So,
yeah.
Have you thought about when I thought I was sure I was going to have a daughter? I don't know why, I was just sure. And the thing that I thought was really cool is that, okay, if she grows up in this space, there are so many great female role models in this space, and I'm just interested if you've thought about raising a daughter in the quote unquote CrossFit space, maybe not on the online space, that's different, but like in person, in the affiliate and stuff like that. Just how many positive role models there are for young women out there in the space right now.
Oh, it is unbelievable. And it's so funny because I always thought, obviously, I would love for my legacy to live on. So, selfishly, I would love to see this sport just grow and flourish into what it can be. And I always just thought for the younger generation. And I never really comprehended or even put much thought into, oh, this could be a potential opportunity for my children as well. And, I think that each day that we progress forward, each year, everyone is really embracing and harnessing the strong female fitness, and they're overemphasizing how important it is to be strong and put yourself out there and achieve great things. And it's just so incredible to see. But to now think about the opportunities that my kids will want to have potentially, and I don't know, whatever they choose to do, that's awesome. I'm just so excited because I think, 10 years ago, the sport was at this point. It's currently where it is now. So in 10, 20 years from now, my goodness, like I hope to see the sport, doing things like tennis is doing, or golf, and, creating so many incredible financial opportunities for athletes to not only just obviously be better athletes and push themselves and see how good the human body can really be and what the human body can really do, but also create career opportunities, because right now I think that we're in that pivotal moment where, some people can actually have a living doing CrossFit all the time, but we're not there where, a lot of athletes can actually have a living. And to think that I'm potentially like a part of that growing or a part of that journey for the younger generation and for future years to come, it's actually really exciting. Because I do remember, years ago, we'd always say like, oh, damn, I wish I chose tennis, or, and, it's just one of those things where you're like, oh, man, if only, we're earning that much money. But it just, as the sport grows and, everyone comes together and the whole ecosystem works together, we will get there, and then it will provide different opportunities. And I've emphasized on the opportunities because that is, we all need money to make a living. And that is what's going to allow our athletes to have the longevity, because they can afford to put the recovery into, helping their bodies recover. And because that's very expensive in itself. But but then, you know, they're going to be able to really test themselves and see how far they can really take the sport as well, physically.
When you won your first CrossFit Games, so looking back at that moment up until now, did you ever think that you would have as much influence on the sport as I don't even know if you truly understand how much influence you have as an athlete, as a woman, now as a mom? You fit all of these different compartments that younger women do look up to.
Yeah, no, not at all. I literally thought I would do CrossFit for 1 year, go to the CrossFit Games, and then I'd have to just go back to work. Because where I came from, you couldn't make a living off it. You know, I'm fortunate enough that Shane was working full time, and, you know, he would support us. It wasn't until I actually moved to America that I actually started making money. And it's just wild to think, because at that point, I'd already won the CrossFit Games twice. So for me, I guess I never really comprehended the impact that I could, you know, show the possibilities for people, you know, because I was doing shift work and everything, and if I could do it, then so could everyone else. But it's just so awesome to see how, as the sport has, you know, provided different competitive divisions and everything like that, it's gotten the younger generation involved. And it has been a really cool stepping stone for these younger athletes to actually put a foot in, get a little bit of a taste of what it is, and then, you know, go all in and have their families supporting them. But I do think, though, it's really important that at a young age, we need to be very careful of, you know, just their longevity of their career, not just physically, but mentally. And we are kind of seeing it where, you know, people are actually now taking it on and actually taking a step back so that they can make sure that they are checking in with themselves and staying healthy, not just physically, but mentally. And I think that you can get that in every sport. It's just CrossFit as a sport is so young, and, you know, we're still trying to iron out those wrinkles. You know, we're still trying to figure out what is the most appropriate age to start and, you know, to really pursue a career in CrossFit as an athlete.
I think people often forget too, is that, and I think they do this across all sports, they look at professional athletes as somewhat superheroes, and, you know, they're nothing really affects them. And you mentioned the mental health part of things, and I'm sure that you've either heard, read, had stuff said to you that affects you in a negative way. And how have you been able to deal with it to keep yourself, you know, engaged and focused throughout your career?
Well, I mean, yeah, turning off social media is a very good way of doing it.
Bingo.
And, you know, like everyone has to earn a living, you know. And I mean, I obviously have a lot of respect for you guys. I'm doing this interview, you know. And Sean, you know, I think that it's like we've created a friendship and a relationship through the years, from the very first day that we met doing that interview. You know, I have created a relationship with you where, like, there's that trust, and, you know, I've always felt a level of respect from yourself. And, you know, it's important to have that, because I think when, you know, athletes feel respected and they feel like they are encouraged, you know, you're only going to get more from them, versus when you see on social media and you're just everyone else is trying to, you know, create clickbaits and just generate, you know, views of absolute rubbish and, you know, utter disrespect. That's when, you know, that toxic environment starts to come out. And then that's when, you know, maybe there's like certain insecurities that some athletes might have that those, you know, social media platforms have exposed. And, you know, it doesn't provide that level of confidence for them. So, you know, that just terrible, oh man, I get so wild about it because there are platforms out there that could show so much positive and incredible things that we do as athletes, but instead we're highlighting the no reps and you know the shit stuff that everyone talks about. And I think that if we could turn that around and talk about, you know, how incredible this athlete did something at such a young age, or you know how incredible the journey is going, or what the future holds, or you know just all the positive things that actually people are doing in life, then when we focus on the positives, only good things are going to come out from it. And I think that it's so important to, you know, I guess come together and build each other up rather than bring each other down. And, you know, that definitely can be a huge contributor to fixing issues that some people may have, you know, because my goodness, like, if you hear people talking down about themselves, if they're talking that out loud, you can only imagine what they're saying internally. And it's I tell you what, it's probably 10 times worse. So when, you know, you have this issue about mental health and, you know, the people are suffering with something like this, you need to show a safe space. And, you know, I think it's really important, especially when we're talking about the younger generation coming into our sport. And as we grow, we need to, you know, band together and create an opportunity for people to be vulnerable, but it being okay, you know? And I think that it starts with social media because everyone can be so vocal on their keyboard or, you know, behind a screen. And I think that, you know, social media can be a very positive thing because people can, you know, unite and become one.
Do you think that there's anything, whether it's CrossFit as a entity, whether it's the community or somebody else, can do to kind of help that? Because you look at athletes, and I think limiting social media could certainly help their mental health and just overall wellness, but they also have these sponsorship obligations, and that's how a lot of athletes are able to earn their money. So it can be a tough balance to limit while they're still trying to make a living. So I'm just curious, through your experience, if there's anything that you think would be helpful.
I don't know if, like, I mean, you could probably remove some social media platforms that aren't going to, you know, jump on the bandwagon of trying to help and build others up, you know, like they are literally, they've set their platform to bring people down. And that is how they're clicking views, you know. But I think if we were to work together, you know, I think, you know, you've got CrossFit, obviously. And as CrossFit grows and evolves as a brand and a sport, I feel like if we could all come together and it be like somewhat of an ecosystem where, you know, you've got all your social media platforms that are actually under the or within the CrossFit space, then it just, when we're all singing the same song, I think that that's what really helps people come together. And we talk about the good things, you know, finding out more about people rather than talking about just, you know, the shallow stuff. You know, earlier on our conversation, we were talking about Willow and how I've had a little baby girl and how amazing that was and the joy that it brings me. Well, you know, I'm sure that there's people out there that don't realize that I've had a kid, you know? So just talking about what's going on in people's lives and actually getting to know these people, I think that that's, you know, something that can help allow, one, you learn more about these athletes that are going out on that competition floor, and you can create more of a bond and get behind them. But I think that if CrossFit and their social media or whatever it is that they choose to do, work with the media outlets, you guys are doing it every day. You're trying to tell people stories. And I think that if there were more platforms like yourselves trying to dive deeper into the athletes' lives and, create opportunities for athletes to be more open and it feel like a safe space, not feel like it's going to be cut up. I remember I've had some terrible experiences with, previous documentaries that have come out. And it wasn't until I literally said, I'm not going to allow people to film me anymore if they're going to crop and create stories just for pure entertainment, So there's always going to be, it has to be a safe space for people to feel open about talking about whatever it is that they want to talk about.
Let me ask you this, because this is something that and I think maybe this is more in the live event thing, and probably in this space as well. Like, there are times where you got to be critical, or you got to say, hey, I think this is wrong, but this is, I don't agree with it. Or in the case of if an athlete has a bad performance in an event, like, we have to say that happened. It's not personal. We have to say it happened. But what do you think, like, when there is a conversation needs to be had that maybe is critical of something and you're trying to highlight, okay, here's what I think is wrong, but here's maybe what we can do about it. Like, what's the right way to have those conversations? Because they do need to be had, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, Sean, I'm sorry, you kind of cut out a little bit there, but can I just...
Oh, sorry.
Did you ask, how do we have those hard conversations?
If someone is going to be, because there are times where we need to be critical, and I'll give you an example. We have former athletes sometimes that do live broadcasts, and so if that athlete has a bad competition, we have to say, yeah, it didn't go as well, and you have to be a little critical. Or if there's something in the CrossFit space that maybe we don't agree with it, maybe we have to be a little bit critical of it. What's the best way to have those conversations, though, so that we can still, like, it can be productive, I guess?
Right. Yeah. And are you having that conversation with the athlete or just like as a commentator?
Just in general, I think in general, and with athletes, or, yeah.
Yeah. See, I always have found that, well, I'll take our situation. I've always found, and my family have always found, when they're watching from Australia and listening to the commentary, Sean, you've always been respectful in terms of my competition and, how I compete and how I conduct myself on the floor. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of workouts that haven't gone my way, but in the years that you've been watching over and talking about my performance, I feel like you've always shown a level of respect. And versus, and you know what? Hey, if I stuff up, then by you stating the facts, I can't get upset about that, However, there's always a way of delivering that, and delivering the way you speak about someone and, the respect that you have shown me over my career. I mean, I can't say anything poorly about it, hence why, like, I'm more than happy to have these conversations and more than happy to, have a chat every so often and, dive deeper into whatever it is that we're going to talk about, because I feel like, and again, I keep coming back to having that safe space because you've shown that level of respect, and also I feel like you both, I mean, you guys have come out to Nashville and you've, hung out and, been a bit of a fly on the wall and just respected the space, but also, shown a level of professionalism as well and gotten to know us as, human beings versus just characters. And I think that having that openness and having that, respect for one another has really gone a long way. And I think that allows you to be able to have those conversations and have those hard conversations if you need to, because of the level of respect that you show.
Yeah, I think it's about. It's okay for people to disagree because that's going to happen all the time in the space. But it just seems like they said there just needs to be a level of okay, let's talk it out and let's not make this personal type thing. Totally. So anyway, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, and it always helps with the storytelling too if you do know the human behind the athlete. And I think even you just coming on here and talking about Willow and the birth of her and bringing her into the competitions and stuff, it just adds a whole other level of respect that we have for you as a human. So I just appreciate you coming on here. Kind of going back to the decision to do Rogue, why did you choose the Rogue Invitational versus Down Under or Wadapalooza to be your first competition coming back?
Well, Down Under, I'd want to do team, and I need 2 more teammates. So if there's anyone interested, give me a message.
Sean!
I'll do it.
Put Sean in a wig.
I love going to Australia. There you go.
Yeah, that would be fun. But Rogue Invitational has always held a very important part to my heart, I suppose. Bill and Katie, I feel like have done a lot for me and my family, but also for athletes. And I think that they are constantly trying to provide opportunities for athletes, which is just so, especially with where our sport is, if we're wanting to, take these opportunities, you have to think outside the box. And when Bill and Katie created the Rogue Invitational and, kicked that off back in 2019, I mean, one, you don't have to pay to actually go and attend the Rogue Invitational. They invite you. You do have to do, if you don't make, the top 10 at the CrossFit Games, they give opportunities to people to qualify. So there is that online qualifier. But they also contribute funds to travel. So if you're international, they give you a little bit more of a stipend than if you are coming from the States. They also pay for your accommodation. And, the opportunities that they have provided through this competition has just been that there's nothing else out there that has actually been able to provide these types of opportunities. And I just think that, in order for our sport to grow, in order for us to grow as athletes, we need more things like this because, it only gets us that much further. And until, sponsorships are flowing through the doors, until, the sport has grown significantly and can provide such incredible, not that it doesn't provide an incredible pay purse, but it could always be better. We need to have we have these opportunities that Rogue have created, and it's like a no-brainer for athletes to compete. Yes, it's tough, and definitely they put you through the ringer for sure, but it just allows you to fine-tune your competitive capabilities, and it allows you throughout the off season to stay in the game essentially. And I think that why not test myself against, the best of the best at the Rogue Invitational in Austin? Because, that's what I love competing for. I love going out on the competition floor and going up against the best, and, the best are going to be there. And so it was a no-brainer really for me. And I just like to take these opportunities that Bill and Katie have provided for the athletes. And it's as simple as that.
We've kept you long enough. I don't have many more, but just one fun one is, have you had a moment yet? And if so, what is it where you said to yourself, oh my God, I'm a mother now?
Is that when Willow has had a complete blowout, or
anything where you're just like, I can't believe maybe it's this. Maybe it's like you sound like your parents, or you're like, I thought I would never do this, and now here I am doing it.
Yeah. Honestly,
like that.
it's just when I have her in my arms, I just have to pinch myself because I just think, man, this is a dream. Like life can't be this good, and it's just so incredible. And I just see her and I just think, wow, like how has this happened to me,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time. And thanks for the kind words. I always appreciate that. And, really enjoy talking to you and wish you the best of luck at Rogue. It's going to be awesome.
We
seeing you
cannot
back
wait
out
to
there.
see you.
Yeah. Thanks so much, guys. I can't wait.